people.
What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
It was quite the Friday for Volodymyr Zelensky. The Ukrainian president was sitting by the phone waiting for just about any update. After all, thousands of kilometers away, his country's future was being decided. On Friday night, Donald Trump met Russian President Vladimir Putin. The meeting was in Alaska, a summit to end the war in Ukraine. It did not end with an immediate ceasefire, but a flurry of diplomacy followed. Trump dialed Zelensky, he called the Nato leaders. There were intense discussions. And now the Ukrainian president has landed in Washington, D.C. In about an hour from now, he will meet Donald Trump. Of course, this won't be easy for him. The last time he was here, things spiraled. Zelensky met Donald Trump at the Oval Office. It turned into a shouting match. Trump called him reckless. He accused Zelensky of gambling with World War III. The meeting had to be cut short and Zelensky walked out in haste. It looked like Washington-Kiev ties needed some desperate CPR.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country, that's back to you, far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once this entire meeting?
And yet here he is again. Zelensky will step into the White House again for another round with Donald Trump. But this time he's not going alone. With Zelensky is a parade of European leaders. They will all attend the meeting with him because this one is too important to fail. A lot hinges on this meeting. The future of Ukraine, the future of Europe, and what the post-war continent will look like. So let's break it down for you tonight. First of all, who is coming with Zelensky? Like I said, an entire entourage of European leaders. There's UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, French President Emmanuel Macron, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, Finnish President Alexander Stubb, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, and EU President Ursula von der Leyen.
Ultimately, our desire tomorrow is to present a united front between Europeans and Ukrainians at this moment of conflict resolution, reaffirming who is on the side of peace, who is on the side of international law. But above all, how can we collectively ensure that the international order is respected and that our collective security is protected?
We've got to make sure there is peace, that it is lasting peace, and that it is fair and that it is just. And that's why I'm travelling to Washington with other European leaders to discuss this face-to-face with President Trump and President Zelensky, because it's in everyone's interests, it's in the UK's interests that we get this right.
This is the first of its kind meeting, the first time such a big EU delegation is heading to Washington on such short notice. They all want to project unity, maybe to prevent another Oval Office ambush. So EU leaders are there as guardrails, not battering rams. They cannot directly confront Trump, but their very presence shows how much is at stake. However, the White House has bigger things to worry about at the moment, like is Zelensky going to wear a suit? Last time this was a point of contention, so this time the Trump administration is already clearing the air. They want him to wear a suit and tie to this meeting. But the Ukrainian president obviously has different priorities. For Zelensky, the starting line is simple: stop the nightly missile barrages. Just yesterday, Russian strikes killed 10 people in Ukraine. So for Kiev, priority number one is a ceasefire. And Europe agrees with this. But again, Trump is not on board. He has gone cold on the ceasefire first idea. Instead, he is talking about a permanent peace deal, one that skips the pause button altogether. And for Kiev, this is a nightmare scenario. How do you negotiate when bombs are literally falling? Which brings us to what Ukraine wants. On paper, Ukraine's ideal peace deal is crystal clear. Full restoration of all occupied land, that's Crimea, Donbas, Zaporizhia, Kherson and all others. But the ground reality may not allow this. Remember, this is a war that has gone on for more than 3 years. The borders have changed. Kiev may have Western weapons, but it does not have the manpower. It cannot win this land back in a war. And that would mean ceding Donbas and Crimea. In fact, Trump has already hinted at it. In a post on Truth Social, he said, and I quote, "Remember how it started. No getting back Obama given Crimea and no going into NATO by Ukraine. Some things never change." So Trump is already stating the obvious, but Zelensky remains defiant, at least for now.
Since the territorial issue is so important, it should be discussed only by the leaders of Ukraine and Russia at the trilateral Ukraine, United States, Russia. So far, Russia gives no sign that trilateral will happen. And if Russia refuses, then new sanctions must follow.
But that's not the only concession that Kiev will be making. Look at the second part of the post. No going into NATO by Ukraine. That's what Trump wrote. That's something that Zelensky has rallied for. Kiev joining NATO. Russia would say that's how the war began, with Ukraine's NATO ambitions and the West indulging it. But looks like he will have to forget about it. Instead, there's talk of a makeshift security guarantee package.
It means that the United States is potentially prepared to be able to give Article 5 security guarantees, but not from NATO, directly from the United States and other European countries. That is big. I mean, really big.
Does it mean boots on the ground? What does it mean, but logistically?
I think part of the discussion that we're going to have on Monday throughout the day, because there's going to be breakout sessions there, is exactly the specifics of what the Ukrainians feel that they need. Because remember, as mediators, we were at this summit to advance the Ukrainian position, and we did that, and we did it successfully.
And that's why today matters so much. If Trump can get Zelensky to swallow the Donbas loss, it would set a precedent. That land can be taken by force, and the West will eventually sign off. So while the Trump-Putin meet in Alaska grabbed the headlines, the Washington meeting may decide the end game. If Ukraine holds its ground, it may emerge battered but intact. If not, it will walk out weaker than it walked in.